What's going on, everybody? Smitty here from Around the 412, back with another Steelers mock draft for you. Going to switch things up as I will throughout this entire process when I'm putting up another mock draft. Last time we used Pro Football Network's draft simulator. We're going to use mock draft database today. Also, we're only going to do 4 rounds as opposed to 7 this time. As we get deeper into day 3, like just to be completely honest with you guys, I know I've done 7-round mock drafts. There's some names that I recognize and can evaluate. And well, I should say most names I'm going to recognize. But I don't I don't want to be dishonest with you guys. I don't know every single player in this draft. Sue me. Enough to evaluate them. So as we get deeper into day 3, I noticed last time, am I leaving a really good player maybe on the board just because I personally don't know them? And I don't think that that's the best way to go about this. So at least for the time being, I feel really good about knowing and being able to evaluate every single player that's going to go within like those first 4 rounds. So we're going to switch it up this time, do 4 rounds, mock draft database. Obviously, Pro Football Focus has one. We did it on Pro Football Networks, like I said last time. Hopefully, we're able to do one on the draft networks before obviously the draft itself rolls around, but they've been working on theirs. I think they rolled out like the beta version or whatever for premium members. I'm not a premium member, so we will see if we're able to get one done on there as well. But some check out some different simulators. It's obviously post Senior Bowl, post Shrine Bowl. There should be some movement there naturally, as well as just the fact that these sites are evaluating players differently, so the rankings should be quite different, and we will see how the computer drafts in front of me because I'm at the mercy of them throughout this process as well. So we will get it rolling. Obviously, want that to be the picture. What am I doing? All right. So Pittsburgh Steelers, 4 rounds. Let's go. Miles Murphy at 1, Will Levis at 2. Okay. Jalen Carter, Bryce Young, Will Anderson, Gonzalez, Stroud, Porter. Phillips going relatively high too. That was a high pick for Clark Phillips. What was that, 14 that he just went at? I like the player, but that is pretty high. So okay, not necessarily a surprise with anything here, I don't think. No, I really don't think that there's anything that necessarily took me by surprise. Anthony Richardson is going to be a polarizing player, but I think that he goes, within those top 15, 20 picks for sure. I think that the ceiling is way too high to not bank on somebody. I think there's going to be certain teams that really, really like him. I mean, if you fall in love with Will Levis, how can you not fall in love with Anthony Richardson? Obviously, those NFL traits, the very high ceiling, but you don't know what the floor is. So, but there are teams that are going to fall in love with him. For the Steelers, though, just looking at this board here, I think Brian Branch, even though he's listed as a safety, would be very intriguing because he can play slot corner. Alabama kind of used him like a Minka, using him all over the field. I don't know if he would be in play for the Steelers, but I think that he should be somebody that is considered if you're just talking about trying to get the best player. Tyree Wilson, also, by the way, I will say I don't expect him to be on the board at this point. I'm not going to take him. I just think that's too much of a luxury pick. I really do like the player. I don't expect him to be on the board at this point. Daniel Jeremiah does not expect him to be on the board at this point. He is another one of those like athletic freaks that somebody's just going to bank on the traits regardless of production. So specifically for the Steelers, I think Cam Smith would be in play. Cyrus Torrance can be in play. Maybe some of these linebackers too. Drew Sanders, that long, rangy linebacker, sideline to sideline at 6'5". You can also use him as a blitzer. Arkansas used him in a lot of different ways, and I think the Steelers could get pretty creative with him as well. But Trenton Simpson, I guess, also if they were going to address inside linebacker early, I think their preference would be Drew Sanders over Trenton Simpson, personally. But we're going to do Broderick Jones here. We're going to address the offensive line early. I know that will probably make a lot of people happy here. I just think that the value lines up too. I mean, he might have the highest ceiling. I also should mention I'm not going to accept any trades for the sake of this exercise, as enticing as some of them may come in at. But Broderick Jones, I think, has as high of a ceiling as any offensive tackle in this class. Still super young, so much to grow into for him. Really good feet, good base of power, good hand usage. I mean, there's so much to work with here. I don't know what the decision following this would be. Is it a replacement for Dan Moore on the left side? Obviously, Chooks has a $13 million, I don't want to say like option, but they can get out of it. He's a $13 million cap hit next season at right tackle. Are they going to pay that? So very interesting decisions for the Steelers to be made here. Broderick Jones, though, let's start really heavily investing in that offensive line. They've tried to put some plug-and-play pieces there, and it worked out okay last year. You saw that they got better down the stretch for sure. I've talked about Pat Meyer's work as the offensive line coach a ton. I thought he was the MVP of the coaching staff, if you will, for the work that he put in, despite that lack of talent so clearly there on the offensive line. It's time to finally invest high in that offensive line. Broderick Jones, great piece for the now and the future. All right, so at pick 32, should I just take Bijan Robinson? No, I'm not going to do that. There's a ton of interesting pieces here. Brian Branch is still there, and again, even though he's listed as a safety, he's using a slot corner. He can move him all around the field. I would love if he somehow fell to this point. I don't think that is going to be the case. Nolan Smith, if you want to start thinking about if you're not going to pay Alex Highsmith on the other side of TJ Watt, he can make some sense, as would, BJ Ojulari. I don't know that the Steelers are going to invest this high in edge. I think they need to add somebody at some point. Siaki Ika, I've taken him in past mock drafts in the middle of that defense. People have made very good points about him, though. I mean, you think about it, even when the Steelers had a really good player there in Javon Hargrave, playing 40% of the snaps max, are they going to invest this high of a pick in a defensive tackle? Obviously, immediate help in the run game. You get younger along that defensive line with a lot of pieces, moving out now and in the very near future. They need another pass catcher at some point. Would it be at this point that they do it? They're taking a receiver at some point. Zay Flowers is a really good player. Emmanuel Forbes could be in contention here. I just literally made a video about Dalton Kincaid. I'm not gonna try to talk you guys into a tight end this early. Dalton Kincaid, but love him as well. I don't know that we need to go down any further. For the sake of this, just because he's still on the board, we're going Brian Branch. Again, I don't think that he would be here at this point. And if he were eliminated from this, I'm probably going Emmanuel Forbes here, the cornerback. I think that if I'm going tackle that early with both of these guys still on the board, I would elect to address the secondary with that second pick. Who knows if Terrell Edmonds is back? Who knows if DeMonte KZ is back? Cam Sutton needs paid if he's going to be back. There's a lot of potential turnover within that secondary. So we're going to take the best available player and also a need in Brian Branch. Sorry, we got to reject these offers, boys. Oh, my boy Dalton Kincaid's still there, man. And Washington just went. So in this mock, everybody's just not taking tight ends. I mean, how enticing is John Michael Schmitz right now, who should not be on the board? Oh, man. That is tough to pass up, isn't it? I mean, that's the way I'm leaning, to be honest with you. I just think the value's too good. I've talked about not wanting to turn over, so many pieces on the offensive line at one time. Like, let them gain some continuity. Let these guys play together and build relationships on and off the football field. And I think that's a big reason why the offensive line progressed in the way that they did last year. They were able to play. Steelers were the only team in the NFL to play the same 5 starters all of last season. So very fortunate there from an injury perspective, as unlucky as they were with losing TJ Watt for the extended time that they did. They were very fortunate with the health of their offensive line. So we got to do it, though. I mean, John Michael Schmitz, Mason Cole was fine at center last year. Maybe Schmitz plays guard or Schmitz plays center and Mason Cole at guard. I don't know. Do you want to, mess with the Cole, Kenny Pickett only took snaps from him as a center in his first NFL season. Maybe you keep him at center and have John Michael Schmitz play guard. I don't know, but he's going to be really good wherever you want to play him. So you take him and you figure the rest out. I mean, they're loving this. I don't know how you guys feel about it. The site has given me 3 A's. This is very different from any report card that I've ever gotten, what I'm looking at here. All right. All right. Now I think we address linebacker here. I think Jack Campbell being on the board here again, if it fell this way, I think we're very fortunate. I think that Jack Campbell could go a lot higher than this. I think that he could. So at this point, this is, the getting towards the back end of round 3 here. I think he could go in the second round, let alone falling here to pick 80. But just the value is way too good. If it weren't him, I really like Tank Dell out of Houston. If they were to go that route, Kai Blue Kelly, if you were looking at corner. But linebacker, certainly a need for the Steelers. Devin Bush is not going to be back. Robert Spillane's a free agent. Do you bring him back? You got a massive relative to the play that we got last year from Miles Jack. If you're deciding to bring him back, the best route there is probably, a small extension to lower the cap hit for this year. We'll see what the team does about that. I think he is back, but at that number, it's just hard to envision. I do like some of the edge here. Not an immediate need though, like linebacker is, in my opinion. So we take Jack Campbell, who I think can get on the field right away in year 1 and help out this defense. And we got one more pick here to make in round 4. I was just about to talk about J.L. Skinner still being on the board. And then that one by the wayside. All right. There's a couple of names here. I am going to add a weapon at this point. I think for me, it's between Parker Washington and A.T. Perry for me. I'm going to lean Parker Washington. Some of the best hands for sure in the class. There's obviously a reason that he's not going earlier. Not the biggest guy, not the most physical guy, but really good hands. And I think, if you're talking about the Steelers, hey, listen, this will be a great pick for everybody that is not a fan of Deontay Johnson's drops and can't overcome that part of his game. Here you go. This is your guy right here, Parker Washington. Fantastic hands, A+ pick. Says Mock Draft Database. They are also on board with Parker Washington at this point. That's great value. I think, again, we are getting a guy that should and could very well go a lot earlier than this, but maybe some of the physical limitations, I'm not sure. Anyways, look at this haul. How do you guys feel about it? Broderick Jones at pick 17, Brian Branch at 32, John Michael Schmitz at 49, Jack Campbell at 80, and Parker Washington at 120. I think we got a great haul and guys that are going to be able to contribute right away in year 1 and only grow into those roles as time goes on. Is this realistic? Probably not. I'll be honest with you. I don't think that a lot of these guys fall. I don't think that anything can happen in the NFL draft. But as we sit here today, I think the most plausible of these is Parker Washington at 120. I think everybody else goes much higher than what they fell to. Just my opinion of it. But, for the sake of this exercise, that's what happened. And we got to be very happy with this haul, I think, as Steelers fans. But you can let me know if you disagree, if you would have taken different players in different slots that you saw there throughout the video. Let me know who you would have taken and why. I love the conversation. I know a lot of people don't like getting negative feedback. I totally get it. Positive criticism, right? Constructive criticism. I am all for it. I'm all for having these conversations. I don't claim to be smarter than any person when it comes to these things. This is just my opinion. And I really like this haul for the Steelers. If it somehow, some way were to turn out like this. Thanks everybody for watching. Can't thank you enough. Again, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Leave us a like. Comment down below what you thought of the haul, who you would have taken instead of who I did at these spots. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.